Hello, welcome everyone. Um,
Can you see
all
me
right,
here?
here we go. Hey, Terry.
Hey, how are you?
Good. So, for those of us who don't know us, this is Dade Real Estate Investors Association, and we're doing an edition today of Street Talk. We're doing it live. Typically, we record these, but we've
Yeah.
asked Terry to come on and talk about commercial real estate because he's going to be live at our DREIA meeting a week from tomorrow, or a week from anyway. It's a week, the 21st, which is a week from tomorrow. And then they'll be holding a full day workshop, and we'll get more into that. But I thought for people who wanted to learn more about it today, we'd ask Terry to come on and answer just 5 simple questions. This is only going to last about a half hour.
Okay.
So Terry, give a little bit about your background and tell us what you're doing out of Florida and in Florida.
Sure, absolutely. You can see me and hear me okay, right, Jim?
You bet.
Okay, just
Yeah.
want to make sure. All right, good enough. So good day to you. And yeah, a quick little snapshot background of me, over 25 years experience in the business of commercial real estate investing. And when I started off, I was actually doing contract work as a contractor, really getting dirt under my fingernails and just living life and just doing the grind, right? And was intrigued always by real estate and ended up doing a project for a very wealthy individual. My father and his three brothers did development. And long and short, this guy took me under his wing after I begged, pleaded, and understood that I wanted to be on the other side of the fence. About 5 years down that road of doing things in a conventional manner, I went off on my own, did a few more multifamily projects and hit a wall. And the wall that I hit actually was the ceiling. Reason being is the banks wouldn't give me any more money because my debt to income ratio was no good. I guaranteed too much debt and I was stuck. So I reinvented my thought process and understood the old saying of go after distressed property where people have to sell, not just want to sell. And when I realized that there was plenty, endless supply of commercial real estate projects out there that are underperforming, my methodology now is to utilize non-conventional strategies like seller financing and many other different creative ways that I'll share at the meeting to go ahead and get these properties without personal guarantees. So now your debt to income ratio doesn't matter. You're not giving any personal guarantee. And at that point, sky's not the limit. There's no limit. And built portfolios with clients and on my own here in my offices and here in Malibu, California. And I've done a lot of different projects out in Florida. So I really look forward to coming out there and exploring opportunity with clients.
So Terry, you mentioned something that we all talk about at DREIA all the time, and that's distressed properties, because there's always distressed properties. And we first met you in March of 2020. You were to come right before the pandemic started, and something about your wife wouldn't let you travel, but nonetheless, it was still a great idea not to travel, right?
Right.
But you've since been coming to Florida and traveling around. So why is it a good time now to buy commercial real estate?
Well, COVID really affected a lot of people in not such a nice manner. As we know, a lot of businesses have been shut down. People have been in a situation where they can't even pay their rent. So it's definitely set the tone, right? And we all know that when unfortunate situations happen, that opportunity with real estate, it really flourishes, and it gives us the true timing aspect to jump in and to recognize that, hey, there's truly distressed property out there. And Jim, you know me, and I'm not the guy, and I don't teach the tactics to try to pull the wool over anybody's eyes to steal a deal. These are people that are actually in a business decision. With commercial real estate, it's different than residential. Nothing wrong with residential. We know that. It's a bread and butter business, right? It's great. If you have a system, you can make a lot of money with it. It's great. With commercial, it's either an asset or a liability. Assets, fully income producing, operating in its highest and best. And that liability is something that's really suffering from mismanagement. People are just out of gas or they're troubled. So now is a great time. It's probably one of the best times within the last decade to jump into commercial and to get one big deal done.
So what are the best property types to invest in, and why? I mean, I can think in my little mind here the things that are not performing well around here, but I may be wrong. So what are the best types?
So the best types in my world, and there's an old saying that I like to quote, which is, there's a seat for everybody, right? Not everyone has the same dynamic as far as what property types they want to invest in. So all property types are great because there's people that are in the hospitality space that want hotels, motels, especially beachfront like you guys have. A lot of these older hotels and motels scattered throughout your coast. There's other people that want the big box warehouse space and distribution. There's other folks that want to stay away from office retail, but other people want it. What I focus on are the recessionary proof property types to hold. And what those are multifamily. Even in times like this, people need a place for affordable housing. Manufactured housing is also key, that goes hand in hand with mobile home parks. But the main property type that I've really honed my skill set and teach my clients and my in-house staff to really go after, because we have a full acquisitions team here, and that's self-storage investing. And self-storage is just like apartments without the people. It's a rock solid property type.
Okay, so you mentioned the ceiling, right? The ceiling you hit. So what creative strategies are you using right now to produce results?
So producing results, there's a few different ways. One way is to make sure we're 100% in control of our capital, regardless if it's your capital or a partner's capital or a hard money lender, whoever it happens to be. You're still using that money and you want to stay in control of that capital. So when we put down earnest money deposits, a technique that I like to use is utilizing a unilateral clause. So it only takes our signature to release our monies back to us if we cancel the contract through due diligence. That's staying in control. I mentioned seller financing, but there's a technique that I use, which I'll elaborate more at the meeting. But what this is, it is a assumable, transferable, non-recourse seller finance note. Say that 5 times fast. But what that means basically is that we can form this agreement where the seller becomes the bank. At any point in time of our ownership of that property, we're able to actually transfer that to someone else, let them slide into our shoes. And because it's assumable and transferable, it's non-recourse. So the non-recourse aspect is really the key ingredient, because non-recourse means no personal guarantee. That's, as I refer to it, as low risk investing as you possibly can, and utilizing those types of techniques with a handful of others will give someone the advantage to get in. And a lot of times using even like subordination clause and having a seller finance note go to second position to allow you to borrow money in first position. It's so easy to get money in first position. You're literally borrowing against their property to buy their property.
Well, I'll be anxious to hear more about that unilateral cancellation. I know a lot of people's ears just peaked up because we deal with escrow deposits every day. So let's just talk about this. Everybody's sitting here like I am wondering, why would a seller consider seller financing instead of just selling all cash?
Yeah. Well, they do want all cash, quick close, no contingency, right? 5-day close. I mean, who doesn't? But reality is this, we do the cafeteria approach, right? You got your tray, you pull up at the line, and you can pick and choose exactly what you want. So we put multiple offers on the table. One will be an all cash, but obviously for buying 30 to 50 cents on the dollar, it's going to be easy to, move that property. Excuse me one sec, guys. But if we're actually producing a opportunity out there for seller financing, what we have to do is separate ourselves from the seller's wants and needs and desires. And that's kind of the psychology behind getting seller financing. And I plan at our all-day event, I plan to get into the psychology and the nature of how to get seller financing. And I'll even look forward to perhaps taking some calls and making live calls on that too. See if I can set some of those up, because I love doing live negotiations in front of folks. Part of the way I play it is I play on the greed. That's one way for sure. And as much as greed is noted as a negative word, still, when there's money on the table, money makes people funny. They want more of it, right? I mean, that's why we're in business. So let's just be very transparent about this, be straightforward. So what we do is we'll calculate a level of escalation of interest, and I'll cover this at the training, where what we'll do is we'll start off small, because we know that, hey, if we start off small, we keep our payments low, And the properties are distressed, Jim. It's not like we're going after the asset class. We're not going after property that's typically 80, 90, 100% full. We're going after property that does not warrant bank financing. So there is truly only one way to buy it, is all cash, because it doesn't warrant for bank financing, right? The banks are going to say no. It's suffering, right? So we play on the greed. We'll create that high level of interest over a period of time. And we'll go ahead and also point out that they don't have to pay capital gains. They only pay capital gains on the monies they receive. So that's a huge benefit to these folks, because sometimes their accountants, they encourage them not to sell because they're going to pay so much in capital gains. I mean, I literally had a guy tell me he'd have to pay, half of his take would have to go to taxes. So he said that's the reason why he's not selling. He's going to have to hold on to it.
And so some of that can be avoided by seller financing.
Exactly. Yeah. Because once you create seller financing, they're truly operating, if they're operating it through certain entities and taking tax advantages of that, then they're just going to be receiving an income stream every month versus a whole, huge wire transfer, right? And their full payday. Yeah. So it makes sense.
So, so how are you and your clients finding these off-market deals? I mean, you're in California. You're finding them in Florida?
Yep, absolutely, 100%. We're finding them in various places. So I have a technique, and the technique is with self-storage is to acquire a number of properties. And once we hit a certain number, and that number is 500 doors, we have buyers that want to buy a set portfolio that's already operating. They want something turnkey. I'll be sharing all the ins and the outs of the storage business and how you can get third-party marketing management collections for a fraction of what it would cost for someone to manage it. And once we recognize these opportunities, and I'll answer your questions as far as finding these off-market deals, but just for the big picture, we're acquiring a certain amount of properties on a portfolio and then trading that back, meaning sell it, trade it to REITs, real estate investment trusts. And REITs, they pay a premium because they want it all done packaged pretty. So when they go after a 500 door portfolio or larger, they're buying it in some cases at 5 caps and 6 caps. And I'll be teaching cap rate. But that metric of cap rate when you're buying at a 5 and 6, that is basically over retail. Like you're buying on appreciation, future value. We're acquiring these properties at a 10 cap, 9 cap. So we're buying real aggressive. And how we're finding these deals is a number of ways. It's not just one magic pill that you take to find the deals, right? It takes a little energy. It could take a little bit of time. And I'm not going to insult anybody's intelligence and just say you can go to a certain website and find all the golden goose sitting there. But it does take a little bit of persistence, just like the house buying business. And we use various different templates like Reonomy, where you get cell phone numbers direct to owners. We acquire direct mail lists and do direct mail campaigns for a fraction of the cost. And we also have the telephone numbers so we can smile and dial. And I also have teams set up that actually do the calling for us. So between all of those dynamics and building relationships with brokers out in the marketplace, speaking for purpose and clarity and actually showing them that there's a benefit to do business with us and really having our self-worth and pushing that forward with confidence and knowing the business separates us from, as I refer to it, as a boot camp grad, right? Because now all of a sudden you're really someone who's talking the talk and walking the walk.
Okay. I mean, the concepts you're talking about are familiar to us, but I think what you're explaining is that you can just put it on steroids and use it in a much larger way. And of course, down here, we are all familiar with self-storage, and I'm sure there are other opportunities, but we have time for one more question that I want to talk about what we're going to do Wednesday and Saturday.
Sure.
You've talked about the unilateral escrow deposit signature, but how do you get away without using a lot of your own capital here?
I always say great deals attract money like a magnet. And for those folks that think there's an actual shortage of capital, they just need to come to great meetings like yours, where I'm sure there's plenty of people that have money and they understand the low risk to no risk. I mean, there's risk in everything that we do. There's risk in the deal not happening, But the way we put it down is we don't have any capital or credit at risk. And moving forward with that dynamic and having the opportunity for so much upside, I like to reward people. And that's the key with me, is that anytime anybody invests with me, I always make sure they're made whole. And that's the best way to do business, because you're providing a positive outlook. You're saying, look, there really is no investment. You're here to make money. And when you're making real money, you can afford to pay people very well. And so the returns that we give, they don't violate any usury law or anything like that, but we mix it up between either a very nice return on their capital with that basic lowest risk possible entry, or equity. And people love equity. People love to be passive investors and just sit back and let the dough roll.
Okay. So Terry, you're going to join us on the 21st for our Wednesday night meeting. That's about an hour. Mm-hmm. And then Saturday, we're going to do an all-day workshop. We haven't done, guys, an all-day workshop in a very long time. So we're really looking forward to this. So and you can sign up for both at DREIA.com, DREIA.com. We'll throw up some slides in a minute. So what are we going to talk about Wednesday, and what are we going to talk about on Saturday?
Gotcha. So to differentiate, Wednesday is going to be an overview, more intense than just what this is. And definitely there's going to be enough golden nuggets to warrant, if you even can't make it to the Saturday, there's going to be opportunity for you to learn a lot. I condense a lot of material. I've been teaching and training for, over 15 years now. I've authored, self-published books, 8 different curriculums of training. I know the ins and the outs and how to present. There's no doubt. I can use PowerPoint. I don't need PowerPoint. PowerPoint's for visual stimulate, right? But I like to show real case studies, real examples, talk about how to find it, how to pre-screen it, how to evaluate it, how to structure it, how to negotiate it, and how to facilitate it. And those 6 steps alone, with some other techniques and strategies that I'm going to be sharing on Wednesday, there'll be definitely enough value to warrant anyone to come, whether you're brand new to the business, whether you're a seasoned pro, whether you've been doing things in a conventional manner and you want to just leverage and be able to, as you say, put it on steroids. Saturday, that's when I'm going to go ahead and roll back the sleeves. And Saturday, I'm going to do a much, much bigger deep dive into the ins and outs of my business. I'm going to slow it down on Saturday, and we're really going to peel it back. And I'm going to get into even more advanced strategies and techniques. And I plan to give it my all. I mean, I've condensed 3-day trainings into 1-day trainings. I did that for Los Angeles Real Estate Investment Association out here. Just what was it, like 9 months ago or whatever it was, 8 months ago. As we all know, there's very little of these larger events going on. So I've been tending to my clients and working with my staff here in my office in Malibu and just ramping up acquisitions. And I built portfolios, which I'll share, in Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas. We've done some business in New Mexico, done some business in Kansas, of course, Florida, which I'll get to, several projects there, and just really taking things to the next level. It'll be a lot of fun.
Well, I think it will be. I'm sorry, I've been muting and unmuting because we're having a thunderstorm right now and it's quite loud. So Terry, do you think someone who's been investing in houses or wanted to invest in housing can extrapolate what they think they know or what they actually know to this type of investing?
Yeah, it's very seamless, actually. And really, again, using the word transparent, just to be straight up, because I always like to be, Jim. I mean, think about it. Like, what's the person doing? Like, to locate a house and to pre-screen a house and to evaluate it and to structure it, everything that I just mentioned, it's basically the same business. I mean, look, you're picking up the phone, right? You're calling somebody, you're speaking for purpose and clarity. What I'm doing is just saying different things, right? And as long as they can get their head wrapped around some bigger numbers and the fact that we're just honing our skill set on a different dynamic, where it's not just one maybe family or one person in one house, but like I have a 52-unit apartment complex I'm putting under contract right now, and that's 52 checks. You know what I mean?
Look, you've given me a lot of, I'm quite anxious for the meeting on Wednesday, and I hope everyone will visit DREIA.com and sign up for the meeting and for the workshop. You know, I always say, you cannot listen to someone for 7 hours and not come away with something very useful. But I think on Wednesday, based on what you described, and I'm going to produce that in an email, the nuggets you're going to cover on Wednesday are well worth it, are very well worth it to attend on Wednesday.
But as you can see here, I had loaded something on the slide, but I know that we're pressed for time, so I'll be super quick. So if you want to take over on any of this front slide, and then I'll let you take the last 2 slides. I just want to
go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, here, let me just flip through this. So I was just talking about why commercial and some of these other things. Let's just go to just this little case study. Just a couple of them, like this Clovis, New Mexico. This is a self-storage deal that we closed. Super nice facility. That was a video I loaded. 350 unit storage in Wichita. I'll be covering these at the event, showing video. 136 unit in Jonesboro. We actually wholesaled this one and in Jonesboro, and we picked up a check in 10 days, and I have that fully documented, what we tied it for and what we sold it for. Here's your backyard, St. Augustine, Florida. What a beautiful property that is. I was in the Jacksonville Real Estate Journal talking about how I closed it. If you can see, 480,000 I tied it for, sold it for 900,000 in 9 months. Another one in Dallas. We'll cover these deals. Kansas City. So you can see I have a wealth of stuff. Here's another one in Kissimmee, right outside of Orlando. You guys know where that is, I'm sure. I'll share before and after shots of those as well. So I just wanted to upload some case studies and show you guys, because people are always like, okay, what's this guy about? Jim says he's cool with them and he knows them, but like, is he really doing deals? And we just closed a deal 2 weeks ago. We just put another 2 properties under contract within the last 2 weeks of closing that deal. And I have a 52 unit apartment that's going under contract as well. They're all time stamped. You'll see contracts, dates, all that great stuff. And I'll share all those resources that I had mentioned about automating. So yeah, next week I'm in person. Here it is, right? This is your club.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's Wednesday. And then there's one more slide about Saturday. Yeah.
There it is.
Saturday. And both meetings, by the way, are at Miami Shores Country Club. Everybody knows where that is. We're going to have lunch on Saturday. It's a real deal. So
Yep.
Terry, the real deal. Thank you very much for joining us today for DREIA Street Talk.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jim. I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.
Okay, great. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.